We begin today with a single mom in Georgia, savagely murdered, discovered by her twin teenage daughters in the bathtub. The clues will lead detectives to the most surprising places of all. The tragic end for Nikki Whitehead was the last chapter in a troubled, difficult life. She was literally born in prison, her mother doing time for drug possession. Nikki was raised by her grandmother, who had a tough time keeping her on the straight and narrow. She didn't have what you call a curfew. Nikki was able to come and go as she pretty much pleased, and at only 17 years old, Nikki ended up pregnant with twins. She named them Tasmiyah and Jasmiyah, known as Taz and Jazz. For 12 years, the trio lived with Nikki's grandmother. But Nikki dreamed of giving her daughters a better life. Nikki worked hard, and eventually, the three moved about 20 miles away to Conyers, Georgia. The young mother wanted her girls to have advantages that eluded her, putting them in dance and music classes. Nothing but the best for her baby girls. She did their hair, their makeup, and for Nikki, when it came to her kids, it was always a celebration. The girls were also straight-A students, with hopes of one day going to Harvard, but their path to success was dramatically diverted when the girls hit high school. It was difficult for them to start hearing and accepting the word no. Teenage Taz and Jazz bitterly resented their mother's discipline. The rage boiled over when Nikki took away Taz's cell phone. When she let it be known that you're 14, you can't talk to 17-year-old guys, and you can't be on the phone at a certain time, and you can't stay out or whatnot. That's when I think it became a battle, and it was clear Nikki was losing control of her beautiful princesses. Where is your emergency? Just listen to this frantic 911 call when she discovered Jazz had snuck out in the middle of the night to meet her boyfriend. I just woke up, and my daughter is gone from the house. How old is your daughter? Oh my God, 13. Two once sweet and obedient girls suddenly morphed into two twin terrors. Officer Myra Scruggs responded to a call from Nikki after yet another blowout. I talked with the girls at great length, trying to figure out what was going on. I actually went in the bedroom with the girls, had a closet full of beautiful name-brand clothes, beautiful shoes. Their hair was immaculate. I mean, these girls really had a good home at the time. The twins told Officer Scruggs they didn't want to live with their mother and insisted on moving back with their great-grandmother, where the rules were relaxed. Nikki said they wanted their way, and it just wasn't going to happen. But after interviewing Nikki, Taz, and Jazz, Scruggs says she had an unsettling feeling. The girls seemed very innocent, very sweet, but the look in Nikki's face, she was fearful of those children. She knew that they worked together. After a few hours, everything appeared to have calmed down. The girls were just ready to go to bed, and maybe we'll just call, their great-grandmother tomorrow. We can go see her. And they left it like it was all okay. But Officer Scruggs had a gnawing feeling that something just wasn't right. Instead of leaving the subdivision, she stayed close. I just knew it wasn't over. Within, I would say, 3 or 4 minutes, I could hear screaming coming from the direction of the house. Both of them jumped on her, and the two of them began to beat her. Nikki manages to get away and calls 911 again. Officer Scruggs rushed back to the house. Nikki's running out of the house with the cordless phone in her hand, hysterical. She said as soon as I left that the girls had attacked her. Taz and Jazz tell an entirely different story. The twins said that once they went back in the house after we left that their mother became abusive with them, told them that they were not going anywhere, and started to beat them. But Officer Scruggs said the physical evidence clearly showed Nikki was a victim. She had scratches on her neck, scratches on her chest, and she was hysterical. The girls, on the other hand, had no marks on them. No indication that really they had been in any kind of an altercation. Talking with them, I didn't believe a thing that the girls had said. Even more disturbing, she recalls the girls' eerie calm after the attack. You could have been two strangers, and there would have been more emotion shown. This time, Taz and Jazz are taken into custody and charged. For years, the two are in and out of court ordered, along with their mother, to undergo counseling. But in fact, a previous court order had actually forced the twins and their mom to live together for a trial period. It was a living hell for her. only because the kids did not want to be back with her. Most family members talked about the resentment from mom to a rebellious teenage phase, but the early spats were nothing compared to the last time cops are called to the house. The girls in absolute panic. As I was pulling out to get to the gate, the young lady stopped me, saying someone had killed her mother. It was late in the day, just after school, when Taz and Jazz returned home to find a horrifying scene. Nikki Whitehead is lying dead in a blood-soaked bathtub, and a swirl of questions. Who could have done such a horrendous act? We're back. A house in turmoil has become a house of horrors. 16-year-old twin sisters Taz and Jazz find their single mom, Nikki Whitehead, viciously stabbed to death. But cops start to suspect the girls aren't as innocent as they might seem. 16-year-old twins Jazz and Taz arrive home from school to find a ghastly scene. Their mother, dead, lying in a blood-soaked bathtub, viciously stabbed 80 times, her spine nearly severed. Cops immediately take the twins in, mostly to console their grief. My grandma. Investigators carefully navigate the situation, but they need answers. When I walked in the front door, it was the first time I'd ever been on something as horrific as that. You walked in, and what happened to the kitchen? And put myself down. I didn't know. I see the blood on the floor, and I went in there, and I seen her. On the surface, it seemed almost unlikely that two young girls could be suspected of such brutal violence, and police soon heard something eyebrow-raising about Nikki directly from Jazz and Taz. Nikki was dating two different men. She lived with Robert, and she also had a boyfriend named Joe. The twins had indicated that Robert had overheard her speaking to the other boyfriend on the phone and indicated that Robert had confronted Nikki about the infidelity. At first, cops wondered if a love triangle may have led to Nikki's demise, but they are also too perplexed about the odd behavior of Jazz and Taz. And in the back of the car, we saw one of the twins bite her arm. We stopped her and asked her, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she explained that she does that when she gets upset. Inside the interrogation room, Taz can be seen on surveillance camera rocking back and forth, comforting each other, and even sharing a kiss. Then, a startling comment takes Detective Ken Swift completely off guard. These two girls were hugging each other, and when I said, "You know, what can I do to make this easier for you?" they turned and looked at me and they said, "Can we watch CSI?" The hairs on the back of my neck stood straight up. Essentially, it was right then, it was like something was very, very off. And cops noticed something even more suspicious. They would cry a lot, but it was tearless crying. When I would ask them to describe their mother, they were very insulting of their mother during the interview. Detectives observed the twins still wearing gloves. "To your hands and your arms. What happened here?" "To a fight. Get in a fight." As they weaved their story, back at the bloody crime scene, investigators uncovered physical evidence. The sinks were completely clean and white. We found shoes in the back of their closet that had blood on them, and in Taz's bedroom, there's a pair of brown boots that have a significant amount of blood on them. I found a clump of hair. Normally, a clump of hair is insignificant in a female's house, simply because there's hair everywhere. But when that clump of hair is attached to a substantial amount of flesh that has been pulled out of somebody's head and then has been wrapped in a napkin and stuffed into the toe of a shoe, you begin to realize that the twins were not telling us anything that was truthful. Investigators quickly determined that they had their main suspects. And Clueless didn't even begin to describe the situation right now. We got you. They can catch the person who did it. Take a look at how Taz looks directly at the surveillance camera, knowing she's being recorded, giving an award-winning performance. Now you're going to be happy now, because she took my mom away from me. Then, the lies unravel when detectives retrace their moments on the day of the murder. "What time did y'all leave the house this morning?" "We missed the bus, so we had to walk." But surveillance video from a nearby gas station shows they didn't walk to school. They actually hitched a ride from a stranger. We began catching them in lies concerning their time frames or their details. They began to be very angry and uncooperative. Detectives separate the twins, and being apart seems to work. "Do you think we did it?" "MMMM. I don't think y'all did nothing. Why do you say that? 'Cause it seems like it. Who said that? Well, it just seems like how y'all were questioning us and stuff, just like y'all think we did it. Prior to testing evidence found at the home, cops can't hold the girls, who are released to their great-grandmother. For the next 4 months, Taz and Jazz lead a normal life, going to school, even attending the prom. Meanwhile, police quietly build their case. We found items in their closet that had blood on them. So, when we were trying to distinguish whose blood, you cannot determine between twins because they have the same DNA. And then, a startling clue almost coming from beyond the grave. To Nikki's credit, she did not go down without a fight, and she left evidence on one of her girls as a marker. Remember when cops saw Taz biting her arm, explaining it away as a nervous habit? Detectives say she was trying to cover up Nikki's bite mark on her arm. We had a dental examination of Nikki's teeth, and they matched it to the bite on the twin. And autopsy results revealed another grim detail. They found human hair between Nikki's teeth. We would surmise that the twin was behind Nikki and had her from around the front. Nikki's fighting for her life and bit her arm, and that's how the hair became embedded in her teeth. On the last day of school before summer break, detectives arrested Taz at home, then head to Rockdale High School to her sister Jazz. We decided we were going to arrest them on the last day of school for fear of they were going to take flight out of the country to avoid the charges. We're back with twin terrors, Taz and Jazz, 16-year-old girls arrested for the brutal slaying of their own mother. It seemed like they might remain tight-lipped forever about this chilling crime, but eventually, the twins come forward with a stunning admission. Hauled off to jail, the pair kept silent about the chilling crime, but as they awaited trial over 4 years, they would finally come forward with a stunning admission, outright confessing to the brutal attack and murder. Where did you stab her? I think I stabbed her in the stomach. It was multiple times. I had her hands, her feet, kind of like a joint effort. She was heavy. We just put her in the water. The water was on. You did realize that morning your mom was dead? Yeah. As part of a plea deal with the state to avoid trial, Taz and Jazz pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter, agreeing to tell the whole gory story. The two girls had planned for this event. Cops believe Nikki never stood a chance. The bloody path extended to outside the home, suggesting Nikki managed to get away at some point. Nikki escaped, made it to that house next door. When we interviewed that resident, he recalled, someone yelling, and he heard someone ring his doorbell. He didn't. He was, in bed at the time, and he didn't get up to go investigate. We could see where Nikki's bare feet exited and re-entered through that door in blood. We would surmise from putting all the crime scene together that she was pulled back into the house, where the attack resumed. In the house, the girls smashed their mother over the head with a pot, stabbed her with a kitchen knife, choked her with a ribbon from a medal, and then dragged her body into the tub, where they left her there to die. What does she say when she's in the tub? Kill me now, I'll kill you. But what happened then? She went under a couple of times, and that was it. By their account, they were up till 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. They didn't want to get up, when they were awakened to go to school by their mother. And I think that's, what sparked the attack, the confrontation, and that they killed their mother, and then they spent, a couple of hours fabricating parts of the crime scene and cleaning it up, and then they went to school so that they would have an alibi. It was an act of rage. Jazz and Taz were sentenced to 30 years in prison, and since they had been behind bars, Jazz traded in her jailhouse jumpsuit for a different uniform, at least for a day. She's graduated high school and even served as class valedictorian. I worked really, really, really hard. I stayed up all night some days and finished some of the things they gave me. But underneath that proud smile is a cold-blooded killer, part of an evil duo who killed the very woman who gave them life. Her last few moments of life had to be horrible, that she was being murdered by her own daughters. Here are some additional details about the story. Nikki Whitehead was 34 years old. Taz and Jazz Whitehead were 16 years old. The murder took place on January 13th, 2010, in their home in Conyers, Georgia. The twins were arrested 2 weeks after the murder. They pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in 2014 and were sentenced to 30 years in prison. This case raised a number of questions about children who are capable of violent crime and the challenges for parents trying to discipline their children. It also raised questions about the role of the media in such cases and the way that the media portrays victims and perpetrators.